Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Grapplers Academy. Today we're going to be looking at something quite interesting, so I thought it would be a good idea to examine some common mistakes that are made when applying the straight footlock.
Yeah, seeing as we're both sort of like broken at the moment, the lower body seems like the better option to go for.
Hence why we're both sat in the sensei-ish position today. Simon thought he'd kindly join me rather than being crossed over with my back hunched up.
Bow before getting onto the mat.
Yeah, you can't see it off camera, but there is a picture that we bow to before we go on the mat. But today we're going to have a look at these details and try and tidy up the straight footlock, because there are a couple of things that people do wrong, and some of them are pretty simple to get right and tighten up and make that footlock much more effective and actually create that braking pressure that you need to make it an effective tap.
Yeah, because you see it taught in a lot of places where it's attacking the Achilles, there's no actually crushing and forcing the foot into plantar flexion and pivoting on the elbow, just trying to get that pain there, whereas as you progress through the ranks, you're less likely to tap to pain and discomfort because you're used to it. You're not really unused to pain after a good few years.
I might be tapping to some pain today. Gladly on the receiving end of this one.
But we won't go into any setups because there's dozens and dozens of videos out there of these setups, and a lot of the details that I've got from here are from various sources, such as other leg lock players and quite a bit as well from Dean Lister, so it's well worth checking his video out as well after seeing this. So starting off, we'll just go into the typical sort of single leg modified X into this, and you see a lot of players while they're applying this, they'll stay up onto the elbow and they're going to really extend here, which is going to put a lot of pressure onto the Achilles and onto the calf muscle, but it's not actually doing anything to the foot. And if your opponent's got quite a good pain tolerance, it's not going to do much for them, or they may just be those unique players who have zero calf pain, i.e. not really step foot into a waist gym. But so we're just going to go over a bit of the posture first. So first things first is I want my heel buried into his hip here, actively using my hamstring to keep everything in there, and my knees are going to be pinching together. Now ideally I want Bond's knee line above my thighs, so I'm trying to get my hips as close to his as I can, and I'm going to be pinching here. Now you'll commonly see the typical escape for this is to push this foot down to the mat and to sit over the foot. Now as this happens, I'm going to readjust my foot positioning, so while Bond sits over, my outside foot is going to go inside of the thigh here, and this inside leg's going to go up and over, and I'm going to step over here now. So we're really locking into the hip and we're securing this knee line. I find this is a much better finishing posture because it's much harder for them to escape, but it doesn't come without its risks, whereas my inside heel, because my knee's in a fixed position, if he was to pull it up, there is that slight risk there of being heel hooked, depending on the flexibility of your knee and how much movement you can take through the knee as well. Now once we are here, I do like to take the double grip over the ankle, and I'm pulling the hand as high as I can up. Now if Bond in defending this does try to pull my top arm away, it's not going to take away from the finishing mechanics, so I kind of leave that in there as a bit of a letting them think they've got something to escape with. Now before I even start to extend through the foot, I want to make sure that his toes are at the back of my shoulder, and usually as you get more experience with this, you can start to feel where the feet are, and I will use the heel digging into my rib cage as a bit of a sign of where the foot is, just from experience and sensitivity to this position. Now before I even start extending here, I need to make sure that I'm doing a couple of things. First one is hiding this elbow, and what this does is it puts my body weight through the foot, and it also starts to force the foot into plantar flexion, so taking away a lot of the movement already from the foot, which you'll get a lot of when you're hyperextending up onto the elbow. Similar to when you're attacking the shoulders, you take away the movement first before you start applying the rotation. So all I'm going to do for this is start to tuck my elbow behind. I'm hopping and hopping back until I feel like I can't really go any further, and then I'm going to fall forward. As you can see here, it goes quite tight, and Bond has adjusted his hips, And again, I'm not falling to stay on the elbow, I'm falling so my shoulder goes onto the mat, and I will put my forehead down on the mat as well. This is, for me, is just an indicator to show that my shoulder's down. Once I get to here, I will then start to pull my hand a little bit higher up and squeeze my shoulder blades together. So I'm really trying to force that foot into that stretch. And then for the finish, all I'm going to do now is push the hips forward and draw a circle on the line with my forehead to get the tap. As you can see, it's not a great deal of movement that takes to finish the footlock from this position, especially when you've taken away all of the space. Just like any other submission, it's all on the setup and taking away all the excess movement before you actually apply the braking mechanics, and it feels a lot more severe onto the foot.
So without the body there, just show us what's happening with the foot.
Yeah, so without the body there, what's happening is as I'm bringing the elbow underneath my body, the foot's starting to internally rotate here. Then as I squeeze the shoulder blades back, I'm doing this, so all the movement's already gone. And my body is crushing the foot into the mat. And then all it takes from there for me to, as I hyperextend, is I'm taking it beyond its actual available range of motion, which will then start to apply the braking mechanics to the bones in the foot as well as the ligaments there, and it doesn't feel quite pleasant. Even in the setup, you may get some people that start tapping as soon as you fall to the shoulder, just from the pressure that's going through the foot there.
So you can feel when the rotation and the compression is happening on the foot, and with the pinch that he has on my knees as well, that the ligaments in my knees start to get quite tight as well. Hence me lifting my hips up to try and alleviate some of the pressure to straighten my leg back out. And then the continuation of that when you drop down into it just increases the pressure even more. Lots of twisting torque, not just a straight back position. So you go show that from the back side, so you can see what's going on with the legs there.
So I'll go back to the step over position here. So when I've got the foot here, you can sort of see that they're at my shoulders already. I'm going to hop, and you can see the foot starting to rotate into the camera. As I fall forward, you can sort of see the foot's crushed there already. I'm going to bring my shoulder blades together, so pinching my shoulders back. And as I'm starting to extend, I'm taking away any excess movement and actually putting it into the braking mechanics. It's just like trying to, without taking the space away, like trying to armbar somebody when their elbow's bent like this. You're taking away the movement before you actually get the tap. So you want to make sure that you're really crushing the foot and making sure that everything is taken away, and you're actually going to give your opponent a reason to tap rather than just pain.
So the way that you're pinching the shoulders back as well, for anybody who uses the gym quite a lot, it's like the same way that you'd set up the tightness with your shoulders for a bench press maybe, or how you'd set up tight for a deadlift with the shoulders, bringing them back and dropping the lats down, kind of squeezing a tennis ball between your elbows.
Yes.
Is a good way to think about it. How can we trap that and keep that squeeze there with some good force? So lots of braking mechanics on that one, really good way of applying it. It's not just a simple lean back and crank on it.
No.
It's a lot of compression and torque on the knee, ankle and the foot. Lots of braking power on that one.
Yeah, definitely. If you have any other issues with this submission, or even any submission around the lower body, feel free to let us know and we'll do our best to cover them. Any questions on other subjects, drop them below in the comments, and if you've had any success or this is a submission you've been struggling with, please let us know and we'll maybe even go into some setups or other options from this attack as well.
Cool, check us all out on the Grapplers Academy if you want to leave us a message there. We do have some entries into leg locks on the YouTube series already, so you can go back and check those out if you don't have any idea how to get into these positions. But otherwise, we'll see you next week.